Commander Sarah Chun stood before the massive holographic display in Earth's primary defense station, watching the elegant ships of the Galactic Council fleet approach through the asteroid belt. For 3 months, humanity had prepared for this moment, their formal introduction to galactic civilization. The Council had promised peaceful contact, cultural exchange, and humanity's eventual integration into their vast interstellar community. "Beautiful ships," whispered Lieutenant Torres, adjusting his collar nervously. "Look at those energy signatures. Pure antimatter drives, if our sensors are right." Sarah nodded, but something felt wrong. 20 years of military service had taught her to trust her instincts, and, right now, every instinct screamed danger. The Council ships moved in perfect attack formation, something their communications had never mentioned. "Ma'am, we're receiving a transmission from the lead vessel," reported Communications Officer Park. "It's strange. The signal is encrypted, but it's broadcasting on emergency frequencies. Put it through." The voice that emerged was not the melodious tone of Ambassador Veltar, who had spent months negotiating humanity's peaceful integration. Instead, a harsh mechanical voice filled the command center. "Attention, primitive species. Your planet has been selected for immediate resource extraction. Surrender all defensive capabilities and prepare for orbital bombardment. Resistance is futile." The command center fell silent. Sarah's blood turned to ice. 3 months of negotiations, promises of friendship, cultural exchange programs, all lies. "How long until they reach firing range?" she asked, her voice steady despite the chaos erupting in her mind. 18 minutes, ma'am." Sarah turned to her communications officer. "Give me a direct line to Admiral Morrison at Luna Base. Priority Alpha." The hologram flickered to life, showing Admiral Morrison's weathered face. His expression told Sarah he had received the same message. "Sarah, tell me you have good news." "Sir, our defensive preparations were based on peaceful contact protocols. We have basic orbital platforms and the new plasma cannon arrays, but against their technology—" "I know." Morrison's jaw tightened. "But we're not going down without a fight. Every human colony, every orbital station, every ship in the system is now military assets. Activate Protocol 7. Sarah's eyes widened. Protocol 7 was theoretical, a last-resort defense strategy that had never been tested. It involved coordinating every piece of human technology in the solar system into one massive defensive network. "Sir, the simulation showed only a 12% success rate. Better than zero. Execute immediately." As Sarah began issuing orders, she thought about humanity's journey to this moment. For decades, they had searched the stars for signs of intelligent life. When the Galactic Council finally made contact, it seemed like humanity's greatest dream had come true. The Council representatives spoke of vast libraries of knowledge, incredible technologies, and a peaceful coalition of thousands of species working together across the galaxy. Now she understood the truth. Humanity had been carefully studied, their defenses analyzed, their capabilities assessed. The Council had presented themselves as benevolent mentors while actually preparing for conquest. "Ma'am, we're detecting massive energy buildups across their fleet," reported Torres. "They're charging weapons systems." "How many ships?" 200 confirmed, with more emerging for hyperspace. Each one is roughly the size of our largest carriers, but their power output is 10 times greater. Sarah closed her eyes for a moment, thinking of her daughter back on Earth, probably in school right now, learning about the exciting new aliens humanity would soon meet. She thought of the millions of people going about their daily lives, unaware that their entire species was about to face extinction. "Ma'am, Admiral Morrison is requesting a system-wide broadcast." "Put him through." Morrison's voice echoed across every communication device in the solar system. Earth, Mars, Luna Base, the mining stations in the asteroid belt, even the research outpost near Jupiter. "Citizens of Earth and all human colonies. This is Admiral Morrison. The beings we welcomed as friends have revealed themselves as conquerors. In 18 minutes, they will attack our world. We will not surrender. We will not kneel. Humanity has faced extinction before and survived. Today, we fight for our right to exist among the stars. Sarah looked at her crew, young faces filled with determination despite overwhelming odds. They had enlisted to protect humanity's first steps into the galaxy. Instead, they might be fighting humanity's last battle. All stations, report readiness, she commanded. Orbital Defense Platform Alpha, ready. Mars Defense Grid online. Luna Base Artillery, armed and targeted. Asteroid Mining Station 7. Improvised kinetic weapons ready for deployment. Sarah smiled grimly. The Council had studied humanity's official military capabilities, but they had underestimated human ingenuity. Mining lasers became weapons. Cargo haulers became missile platforms. Research stations became sensor arrays. 15 minutes to contact, Torres announced. The greatest battle in human history was about to begin. The first shots fired in the war for humanity's survival came not from Earth's mighty orbital platforms, but from an unexpected source. Dr. Elena Vasquez, chief scientist at Asteroid Mining Station 7, had spent the last 15 minutes converting industrial equipment into weapons of war. Fire, she shouted into her communicator. A massive chunk of refined titanium ore accelerated by the stations or launcher to nearly 10% of light speed, streaked toward the Council fleet. The aliens had been so focused on Earth's formal defenses that they never noticed the mining stations repositioning themselves. The improvised kinetic projectile struck the lead Council ship's shield array, causing a brilliant explosion that lit up the darkness of space. For a moment, hope flickered in human hearts across the solar system. Then, the Council fleet opened fire. Energy beams beyond human comprehension lanced through space, striking Orbital Defense Platform Alpha. The massive structure, humanity's pride and joy, lasted exactly 3 seconds before vaporizing completely. 2,000 souls gone in an instant. Platform Alpha is gone, Torres reported, his voice cracking. Platform Beta is taking heavy fire. Sarah watched the tactical display with growing horror. The Council weapons were beyond anything they had imagined. Each shot carried enough energy to level a city, and they were firing hundreds of beams per second. All mining stations, continue harassment fire, she commanded. Make them work for every kilometer. The asteroid belt erupted into chaos as humanity's mining fleet launched everything they had. Chunks of iron, titanium, and rare earth metals became missiles. Industrial lasers designed to cut through solid rock turned toward alien hulls. It was desperate, improvised, and completely insane. And somehow it was working. Ma'am, we're seeing shield fluctuations on 17 Council vessels, reported Park. The mining stations are actually damaging them. The reason became clear when Dr. Martinez at Luna Base made a shocking discovery. Commander Chun, you need to see this. We've been analyzing their shield technology from the sensor data. Martinez's face appeared on Sarah's display, excitement overriding fear. Their shields are designed to stop high-energy weapons and sophisticated missiles. They're not calibrated for simple kinetic projectiles at high velocity. It's like they've never encountered such primitive weapons. Sarah understood immediately. The Council had conquered thousands of worlds, all with advanced energy-based weapons. They had never faced an enemy that threw rocks. All stations focus on kinetic attacks. Forget the energy weapons. Throw everything solid you can find. Across the solar system, humanity adapted with frightening speed. Cargo containers filled with scrap metal became cluster bombs. Construction equipment launched building materials like artillery shells. Even personal spacecraft joined the fight, ramming themselves into Council ships at maximum velocity. But the aliens were adapting too. Council ships are modifying their approach, Torres announced. They're spreading out, making it harder for us to target them. The lead Council ship, a massive dreadnought that dwarfed anything humanity had built, moved into position above Earth, its weapons charged with an ominous glow. Admiral Morrison's voice crackled over the communications. All Earth-based platforms, fire everything. Don't let them get a clean shot. Earth's surface erupted with light as every weapon humanity possessed fired simultaneously. Plasma cannons, railguns, missile arrays, streams of destructive energy reached up from the planet's surface like angry fingers. The Council Dreadnought's shields held, but barely. Cracks of light spiderwebbed across its protective barrier. "It's working," Sarah shouted. "Concentrate fire on that ship." Then, something unexpected happened. The Council fleet stopped advancing. "Ma'am, we're receiving another transmission," Park reported. "It's from a different ship, different voice." "Put it through." This time, the voice that emerged was distinctly alien, but spoke in perfect English. "Human forces, this is War Leader Krexhai of the Council Enforcement Division. You fight with honor, but you cannot win. Surrender now, and your species will be relocated to reservation worlds. Continue fighting, and you will be exterminated." Sarah looked around her command center. Her crew's faces showed exhaustion, fear, but also determination. They had been fighting for 2 hours, and somehow they were still alive. "Open a channel," she ordered. "This is Commander Sarah Chun of Earth Defense Forces. Here's our answer to your generous offer." She nodded to Torres, who launched every remaining missile from their platform simultaneously. Dozens of nuclear-tipped projectiles streaked toward the Council fleet like falling stars in reverse. The alien response was swift and terrible. Energy beams lanced out, intercepting most of the missiles. But 3 got through, detonating against the shields of different Council ships. The explosions were tiny compared to the massive alien vessels, but the psychological impact was enormous. For the first time in the battle, the Council fleet hesitated. War Leader Krexhai's voice returned, now tinged with something that might have been respect. "Impressive. Your species shows remarkable tenacity for primitives. But this ends now." The Council Dreadnought's main weapon began to charge. Energy readings spiked beyond anything the humans had seen. This wasn't just a ship killer, it was a planet buster. "All stations, emergency maneuvers," Sarah broadcast. "Get everything away from Earth now." As she watched the weapon charge, Sarah realized something profound. Humanity had been lied to, betrayed, and attacked without provocation. They faced impossible odds against an enemy with technology beyond their understanding. But they had not surrendered. They had not begged. They had fought back with everything they had, turning mining equipment into weapons and cargo haulers into warships. They had made the mighty Galactic Council bleed. Whatever happened next, the galaxy would remember that humanity did not go quietly into the night. The Dreadnought's weapon reached full charge. Aimed directly at Earth, the Council Dreadnought's planet-killer weapon hummed with devastating energy, its targeting systems locked on Earth. In the command center, Sarah watched helplessly as the weapon prepared to end human civilization with a single shot. The tactical display showed the impossible energy readings, enough to crack a planet's crust and boil its oceans. Then, Dr. James Park at the Titan Research Station made a discovery that would change everything. "Commander Chun, emergency transmission." Park's voice crackled through the communication array, barely audible over the static. "I've been monitoring the Council communication frequencies. You need to hear this." A new voice filled the command center, alien but different from the others. Panicked, speaking in what sounded like the Council's own language, but their translation systems picked up fragments. "Warning, humans are impossible. Retreat immediately. They cannot be, ancestors told us." Sarah frowned. "Dr. Park, what are we hearing?" "Ma'am, it's coming from ships at the back of the Council fleet. They're arguing with the war leader. From what our systems can translate, some of them want to withdraw." "Withdraw? Why would they?" Sarah's eyes widened as understanding hit her. "They're scared." Before anyone could respond, the unexpected happened. The Council Dreadnought's weapon powered down. Not fired, powered down. War Leader Krexhai's voice returned, but now it carried uncertainty. "Human forces, we require consultation with the High Council." Maintain your positions. Sarah looked at her tactical officer. Torres, what's their status? Ma'am, half their fleet is pulling back to a defensive formation. The other half seems to be arguing with them. I'm reading massive energy spikes from their communication arrays. They're sending messages deeper into space, probably to their homeworlds. Dr. Martinez's voice came through from Luna Base. Commander, I think I know what's happening. I've been analyzing the fragments of their conversations that our systems can translate. They keep mentioning something called the Lost Ones and the Forgotten War. Admiral Morrison's weathered face appeared on the holographic display. Chun, we're detecting Council reinforcements arriving at the edge of the solar system. Massive ships, but they're not approaching. They're just watching. The mystery deepened when Dr. Elena Vasquez made another shocking discovery from her mining station. Commander, you need to see this. When our kinetic projectiles hit their ships, they weren't just damaging shields. Look at the material analysis. Data flowed across Sarah's screen, showing the composition of debris from damaged Council ships. Her breath caught in her throat. These hull fragments, they contain elements that don't exist naturally. Artificially created materials with properties we can barely understand. But the energy signatures, they're familiar. Familiar how? They match readings from Earth's ancient impact craters. The ones that have puzzled scientists for decades because they show signs of artificial origin. The implications hit Sarah like a physical blow. Dr. Vasquez, are you suggesting that the Council has been to Earth before? A long time ago. Suddenly, everything made sense. The Council's surprise at humanity's resistance. Their apparent familiarity with human combat tactics. The fear in some of their voices when humans fought back with primitive kinetic weapons. War leader Krexhi's transmission returned, but this time he wasn't speaking to the human fleet. He was arguing with his own forces, and the translation systems caught enough to piece together the truth. Impossible. Humans should not exist. The Purge fleet reported complete sterilization 65 million rotations ago. Sarah's blood ran cold. 65 million years. The same time period as Earth's most famous extinction event. Dr. Martinez's voice was barely a whisper. The dinosaurs. They didn't die from an asteroid. They died from the Council. The revelation sent shockwaves through the human fleet. Earth had faced extinction before, not from natural disaster, but from the same alien empire now attacking them. Somehow life had survived. Mammals had inherited the Earth. Eventually, humans had evolved. And now the Council had returned to finish what they started. But this time was different. This time, Earth wasn't defenseless. This time, the survivors had learned to fight back. The Council fleet's formation began to shift. Ships that had been pressing their attacks suddenly pulled back. Energy readings showed massive power buildups. Not weapons, but communication arrays broadcasting desperately into deep space. They're calling for help, Torres reported. Or maybe orders. War leader Krexhi's voice returned, no longer confident and commanding, but uncertain and afraid. Human forces, you will cease all hostile actions immediately. You do not understand what you are risking. Sarah opened a communication channel, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what she had learned. War leader Krexhi, we understand perfectly. You tried to exterminate us once before. You failed then. You're failing now. Primitive fool. You know nothing of the forces you provoke. The human species was marked for termination by the High Council itself. We came here to complete a righteous cleansing. Then, you should have done a better job the first time. The silence that followed lasted nearly a full minute. When Krexhi spoke again, his voice carried something humans had never heard from the Council before. Uncertainty. This is impossible. The Purge fleet's records show complete biological sterilization. No complex life should have survived. Admiral Morrison's voice cut through the confusion. Well, we did survive, and we evolved, and now we're here to make sure you never get the chance to try again. Across the solar system, the human fleet regrouped. Mining stations reloaded their improvised weapons. Orbital platforms that had somehow survived the initial bombardment powered up their remaining systems. Research stations turned their most powerful sensors toward the Council fleet, analyzing every detail of their technology. The Council had expected to find a defenseless world ripe for conquest. Instead, they had discovered that their greatest failure from 65 million years ago had returned as their most dangerous enemy. And somewhere in the depths of space, more Council ships were responding to their desperate calls for reinforcement. The real battle was just beginning. The revelation about Earth's ancient extinction changed everything. Across the human fleet, a new determination took hold. This wasn't just about defending their planet. This was about 65 million years of revenge. Dr. Martinez at Luna Base had been working frantically since the truth emerged, analyzing every piece of data about the Council fleet. Her discovery sent shockwaves through the human command structure. Commander Chun, I found something incredible in the Council ship debris. Their technology isn't just advanced, it's stagnant. These are the same designs they used 65 million years ago, just slightly improved. Sarah studied the technical readouts. What are you saying, Doctor? They stopped innovating. For 65 million years, they've been using variations of the same technology. Meanwhile, humans went from basic mammals to spaceflight in just a few million years. Their rate of technological advancement is crawling compared to ours. Admiral Morrison's voice crackled through the communication array. Are you telling me we might actually have an advantage? More than that, sir. I think we can win. The conversation was interrupted by an urgent alert from Communications Officer Park. Commander, we're receiving a transmission from deep space. It's not from the Council fleet. It's from much further out. The holographic display flickered to life, showing a new alien face. This one was different from the Council representatives. Older, scarred, with eyes that held ancient wisdom and bitter experience. Human warriors, I am Fleet Commander Zareth of the Resistance Coalition. We have been monitoring your battle with great interest. Sarah blinked in surprise. Resistance Coalition? The Council's empire spans thousands of worlds, Commander Chun. But not all species submit willingly. Some of us have been fighting them for millennia, waiting for the right moment to strike back. War Leader Krexhi's voice interrupted furiously. Zareth, you dare interfere with Council operations? This world is under rightful dominion. Zareth's laugh was harsh and bitter. Rightful? You tried to exterminate these people once before and failed. Now they've grown strong enough to make you bleed. The irony is beautiful. Sarah's mind raced. Fleet Commander, are you offering an alliance? We are offering something far more valuable. Information. The Council rules through fear and overwhelming force, but they have a critical weakness. Their command structure is completely centralized. Every major decision must be approved by the High Council on their homeworld of Dominus Prime. Dr. Martinez's voice cut through excitedly. That explains the communication delays. Every time we do something unexpected, they have to ask for permission to respond. Zareth continued. Exactly. For millions of years, this system worked because no species ever posed a real threat. But you humans, you're different. You adapt faster than they can react to. As if to prove the point, reports began flooding in from across the solar system. Human ingenuity was running wild. The crew of the merchant vessel Star Dancer had somehow converted their cargo bay into a mass driver. The research station at Europa had turned their ice mining equipment into a devastating frost weapon that was playing havoc with Council sensors. Most remarkably, the teenagers at the Mars Colonial Academy had hacked into several damaged Council ships and were broadcasting human music directly into their communication systems at maximum volume. Ma'am, Torres reported, trying to suppress a grin, the Council ships are actually taking evasive maneuvers to get away from the Academy's music broadcast. War Leader Krexhi's transmission crackled with rage. Stop that acoustic assault immediately. Sarah couldn't help but smile. I'm afraid we can't control what our citizens choose to broadcast, War Leader. But the Council's frustration was becoming dangerous. More ships were arriving from deep space. Massive dreadnoughts that dwarfed even Krexhi's flagship. The human fleet's improvised weapons had been effective against the initial force, but These new arrivals brought overwhelming firepower. Commander, Zareth's transmission continued. The Council is preparing to deploy their world-breaker weapons. These devices can crack a planet's core. You have perhaps 1 hour before they complete their deployment. Admiral Morrison's face appeared on screen, grim but determined. Then, we make our move now. Dr. Martinez, what's the status on Protocol 7? Admiral, we've integrated everything. Orbital platforms, mining stations, research facilities, even private spacecraft. It's completely insane and probably impossible, but we have a unified command network spanning the entire solar system. Sarah understood. Protocol 7 wasn't just a defensive strategy. It was a way to turn humanity's scattered, improvised fleet into a single, coordinated weapon. All stations, this is Commander Chun. Initiate Protocol 7. Full authorization. Across the solar system, human technology merged into something unprecedented. Mining lasers synchronized their firing patterns. Cargo haulers coordinated their ramming attacks. Research stations shared sensor data in real time. Even civilian spacecraft joined the network, their navigation computers becoming part of a vast tactical system. The result was chaos for the Council fleet. They found themselves facing not a disorganized mob of primitives, but a coordinated swarm that anticipated their every move. War leader Krexhi's flagship found itself surrounded by a cloud of human vessels, some no larger than personal shuttles, all firing kinetic weapons in perfect synchronization. His shields, designed to deflect energy weapons, buckled under the sustained barrage of simple projectiles. Impossible, his voice screamed across the communication channels. No species coordinates like this. Your technology is primitive. Fleet Commander Zareth's laughter echoed through space. Krexhi, you still don't understand. Humans don't fight like any species you've conquered. They don't just use technology. They improvise with it. They turn it into something completely different. The tide of battle was turning. Council ships, powerful beyond imagination, found themselves outmaneuvered by converted mining equipment and cargo haulers. Their sophisticated targeting systems couldn't track the sheer number of human vessels swarming around them. But the world-breaker ships were almost in position. Massive weapons capable of destroying planets were charging their systems, preparing to end the fight with overwhelming force. Sarah looked at her tactical display, knowing that humanity's greatest test was yet to come. They had survived the Council's initial attack and bloodied their fleet. Now they faced weapons that could literally break worlds. Time was running out, and the real battle was about to begin. The world-breaker ships emerged from hyperspace like harbingers of extinction. Each vessel was the size of a small moon, their surfaces bristling with weapons designed to crack planets. Sarah watched the tactical display with growing dread as energy readings climbed beyond anything they had faced. 5 world breakers confirmed, Torres reported, his voice tight with fear. Energy signatures are off the charts. Ma'am, those things could turn Earth into an asteroid field. Fleet Commander Zareth's transmission carried urgency. Commander Chun, you have perhaps 30 minutes before they can fire. Once those weapons charge, nothing can stop them. Sarah's mind raced through possibilities, each more desperate than the last. Then Dr. Martinez's voice crackled through from Luna Base, excited beyond measure. Commander, I've been analyzing the world-breaker ships with our deep space sensors. They're using the same centralized command structure as the rest of the Council fleet, but there's something else. The weapons require simultaneous authorization from all 5 ships to fire. Why would they design it that way? Fail-safe protocol. World-breaker weapons are so destructive that the Council requires multiple command authorizations to prevent accidental deployment. Sarah's eyes widened as understanding hit her. Doctor, are you suggesting what I think you're suggesting? If we could disrupt the communication between even one world-breaker ship and the others, they couldn't fire. Admiral Morrison's voice cut through the chatter. How do we disrupt communication between ships that advance? The answer came from an unexpected source. Marcus Webb, a 17-year-old student at the Mars Colonial Academy, had been listening to the military channels. "Excuse me, Admiral Morrison, sir? This is Marcus Webb at the Academy. I think we might have a solution." Sarah blinked in surprise. "Son, this is a military operation." "Yes, ma'am, but we've been studying Council communication protocols. They use quantum entanglement for instantaneous communication across vast distances. Very sophisticated, very secure." "Get to the point, Marcus." "Well, ma'am, quantum entanglement can be disrupted by gravitational anomalies. And we happen to have several fusion reactors here at the Academy that we've been experimenting with." Dr. Martinez's voice carried sudden excitement. "Gravitational pulse. If you could create a localized gravitational distortion." Marcus continued, his teenage enthusiasm infectious despite the dire situation. "We've been working on artificial gravity generators for our physics class. If we overload all the fusion reactors simultaneously and channel the output through our experimental gravity manipulators, you could create a gravitational pulse that would disrupt quantum entanglement," Martinez finished. "It's completely insane and probably impossible, but it's the kind of impossible that humans specialize in," Admiral Morrison concluded grimly. "Do it." Across the solar system, humanity's response was swift and chaotic. The Mars Colonial Academy became the center of the most ambitious physics experiment in human history. Students and professors worked frantically to link fusion reactors with experimental gravity generators, creating a device that existed nowhere in any textbook. Meanwhile, the human fleet continued their desperate harassment of the Council forces. Mining ships fired everything they had. Research stations turned their most powerful transmitters toward the world-breaker ships, flooding them with every form of electromagnetic interference they could generate. War leader Krexhi's voice carried frustrated rage. "Human primitives, you cannot stop the world-breaker protocol. Your world will burn for your defiance." "Maybe," Sarah replied calmly, "but we're going to make it expensive for you." The Council fleet was learning to fear humanity's adaptability. What they had dismissed as primitive chaos was revealing itself as unprecedented tactical flexibility. Human vessels coordinated through jury-rigged communication networks, sharing targeting data and tactical information in ways the Council had never encountered. "Commander Chun," reported Dr. Vasquez from her mining station, "we're seeing something strange. The Council ships are having trouble coordinating their attacks. Our chaotic battle patterns are overwhelming their tactical computers." Fleet Commander Zareth's transmission confirmed her observation. "The Council has conquered thousands of worlds, but they've always faced organized military resistance following predictable patterns. They don't know how to fight an enemy that turns civilian equipment into weapons and coordinates through improvised networks." But time was running out. The world-breaker ships had begun their final charging sequence. Massive energies built up in their core systems, preparing to unleash planetary destruction. "Marcus, how much longer do you need?" Admiral Morrison asked. "2 more minutes, sir. We're synchronizing all 5 reactors now. This is either going to create a beautiful gravitational pulse or blow up Mars." "Understood. All human forces, clear the area around Mars immediately." Sarah watched as ships scattered away from the red planet. Everything depended on the physics experiment of a group of teenagers and their professors. The world-breaker ships reached 90% charge. Energy readings spiked beyond measurement. "All reactors synchronized," Marcus reported, initiating gravitational pulse in 3, 2. The space around Mars erupted in invisible force. Gravitational waves rippled outward at the speed of light, creating distortions in space-time itself. The effect was invisible to human sensors, but its impact on the Council fleet was immediate and devastating. The world-breaker ship's quantum communication network collapsed instantly. 5 massive weapons, designed to fire in perfect synchronization, found themselves unable to communicate with each other. "Gravitational pulse successful," Dr. Martinez shouted. Council quantum entanglement networks are completely disrupted. War leader Krexhi's voice screamed across the communication channels. Impossible. How did primitives disrupt quantum entanglement? Sarah smiled grimly. Simple, war leader. We learned. But the victory was temporary. The Council ships began adapting, switching to backup communication systems. They had perhaps minutes before the World Breakers could re-establish coordination. That's when Fleet Commander Zareth played his final card. All Resistance Coalition forces, this is your moment. The Council fleet is blind and confused. Attack now. Space erupted in light as hundreds of ships emerged from hyperspace. The Resistance Coalition had been planning this moment for millennia, waiting for the Council to be vulnerable. The battle became a three-way chaos that the Council's rigid command structure couldn't handle. Human improvisation, Resistance Coalition coordination, and Council desperation created a swirling melee that defied all tactical doctrine. In the end, it wasn't superior firepower that won the day. It was humanity's refusal to fight by the rules. War leader Krexhi's flagship, surrounded by human mining vessels and coalition warships, finally surrendered. His transmission was bitter, but defeated. The High Council will hear of this. Humanity will be marked for total extermination. Sarah's response echoed across the galaxy, carried by communication networks to every world under Council dominion. Let them come. We've been marked for extermination before. We survived then. We'll survive now. And every time you try to destroy us, we'll get stronger. Across the galaxy, oppressed worlds heard humanity's defiant message. The Council's greatest secret was revealed. They could be beaten, not through superior technology or overwhelming force, but through adaptation, cooperation, and the simple refusal to surrender. The age of the Council's unchallenged dominion was over. Humanity had taken its first steps into a wider galaxy, not as subjects or victims, but as liberators. The stars themselves would never be the same. Commander Sarah Chan stood before the massive holographic display in Earth's primary defense station, watching the elegant ships of the Galactic Council fleet approach through the asteroid belt. For 3 months, humanity had prepared for this moment, their formal introduction to galactic civilization. The Council had promised peaceful contact, cultural exchange, and humanity's eventual integration into their vast interstellar community. Beautiful ships, whispered Lieutenant Torres, adjusting his collar nervously. Look at those energy signatures. Pure antimatter drives, if our sensors are right. Sarah nodded, but something felt wrong. 20 years of military service had taught her to trust her instincts, and, right now, every instinct screamed danger. The Council ships moved in perfect attack formation, something their communications had never mentioned. Ma'am, we're receiving a transmission from the lead vessel, reported Communications Officer Park. It's strange. The signal is encrypted, but it's broadcasting on emergency frequencies. Put it through. The voice that emerged was not the melodious tone of Ambassador Veltar, who had spent months negotiating humanity's peaceful integration. Instead, a harsh mechanical voice filled the command center. Attention, primitive species. Your planet has been selected for immediate resource extraction. Surrender all defensive capabilities and prepare for orbital bombardment. Resistance is futile. The command center fell silent. Sarah's blood turned to ice. 3 months of negotiations, promises of friendship, cultural exchange programs. All lies. How long until they reach firing range? She asked, her voice steady despite the chaos erupting in her mind. 18 minutes, ma'am. Sarah turned to her communications officer. Give me a direct line to Admiral Morrison at Luna Base. Priority Alpha. The hologram flickered to life, showing Admiral Morrison's weathered face. His expression told Sarah he had received the same message. Sarah, tell me you have good news. Sir, our defensive preparations were based on peaceful contact protocols. We have basic orbital platforms and the new plasma cannon arrays, but against their technology. I know. Morrison's jaw tightened. But we're not going down without a fight. Every human colony, Every orbital station, every ship in the system is now military assets. Activate Protocol 7. Sarah's eyes widened. Protocol 7 was theoretical, a last-resort defense strategy that had never been tested. It involved coordinating every piece of human technology in the solar system into one massive defensive network. Sir, the simulations showed only a 12% success rate. Better than zero. Execute immediately. As Sarah began issuing orders, she thought about humanity's journey to this moment. For decades, they had searched the stars for signs of intelligent life. When the Galactic Council finally made contact, it seemed like humanity's greatest dream had come true. The Council representatives spoke of vast libraries of knowledge, incredible technologies, and a peaceful coalition of thousands of species working together across the galaxy. Now she understood the truth. Humanity had been carefully studied, their defenses analyzed, their capabilities assessed. The Council had presented themselves as benevolent mentors while actually preparing for conquest. "Ma'am, we're detecting massive energy buildups across their fleet," reported Torres. "They're charging weapons systems." "How many ships?" 200 confirmed, with more emerging from hyperspace. Each one is roughly the size of our largest carriers, but their power output is 10 times greater. Sarah closed her eyes for a moment, thinking of her daughter back on Earth, probably in school right now, learning about the exciting new aliens humanity would soon meet. She thought of the millions of people going about their daily lives, unaware that their entire species was about to face extinction. "Ma'am, Admiral Morrison is requesting a system-wide broadcast." "Put him through." Morrison's voice echoed across every communication device in the solar system. Earth, Mars, Luna Base, the mining stations in the asteroid belt, even the research outpost near Jupiter. "Citizens of Earth, and all human colonies. This is Admiral Morrison. The beings we welcomed as friends have revealed themselves as conquerors. In 18 minutes, they will attack our world. We will not surrender. We will not kneel. Humanity has faced extinction before and survived. Today, we fight for our right to exist among the stars." Sarah looked at her crew, young faces filled with determination despite overwhelming odds. They had enlisted to protect humanity's first steps into the galaxy. Instead, they might be fighting humanity's last battle. "All stations, report readiness," she commanded. "Orbital Defense Platform Alpha ready. Mars Defense Grid online. Luna Base artillery armed and targeted. Asteroid Mining Station 7. Improvised kinetic weapons ready for deployment." Sarah smiled grimly. The Council had studied humanity's official military capabilities, but they had underestimated human ingenuity. Mining lasers became weapons. Cargo haulers became missile platforms. Research stations became sensor arrays. 15 minutes to contact, Torres announced. The greatest battle in human history was about to begin.